Hi, you're watching Rizal's ASEAN with me, Rizal Zokapi. And in this week's episode of Rizal's ASEAN, we will look at how one social entrepreneur is looking at ways to address and to reduce the gaps in the Orang Asli community in Labu, Negeri Sembilan. One of TN50's 23 youth ambassadors, Ganesh Muran, is tasked with inspiring the youth in Malaysia as the country heads towards 2050. Ganesh's passion is with the underserved communities in Malaysia and ASEAN through Saora Industries, a social enterprise founded by Ganesh. The young chap hopes to address the needs of people in the underprivileged communities by providing access to clean water and harnessing the opportunities of solar power. Rizal's ASEAN travelled with Ganesh to Labu, Negeri Sembilan to find out firsthand issues affecting the community there. They spoke about empowering the Orang Asal, social enterprise and his vision for 2050. So, Ganesh, you are a volunteer and you are also using technology to help people in this community. Share with us that experience and how you've made the lives of people in this community better.
So previously how did they live was by using candles, and candles were a bit expensive. It's about 2 to 3 ringgit one piece of candle, so it's way more expensive. So by providing this solar lighting, which eliminates the use of candle, and also secondary, it's much more financially, it's much more cheaper, and third, it's much more safer. So these people live in homes which are made of bamboo and also wood, so it's much more safer in a way. And these three elements, it's a major impact to these lives. And for the water purification system, previously they collected water from the hill, a nearby hill, and then they would boil it and then drink it. But with our system, you get water about 3 liters a minute, which is really fast. And we have one central location where a lot of families come together and collect water.
What are some of the changes that you see in their lives?
So one major, principle or value of our company is not about the technology. Technology always changes, but what is important and crucial to us is basically how impactful our technology or the technology of others that we bring alongside has impacted these lives. So we have seen a drastic change whereby previously if they were buying candles, now they save money on buying these candles, and this money is actually now being used to educate the child. So they are able to buy books for the kids and all those. And in terms of water, now children are able to go to school without having the worry of having diarrhea or in the morning. So this has changed not only the lives of the parents, but also the lives of the children. And I think with these basic essentials such as expenditure on education is going to change the lives of these kids.
And let's talk about two things here. You talked about the kids, and you also talked about the technologies that you bring into or you brought into the community. Which one do you think would be crucial for a community like this to move forward? Do you think would it be access to better technology, or do you think it's the development of the people in the community itself for the future?
So I believe, to my belief, I think technology and people go hand in hand. There's no way of having an option of is it technology or people. But I feel the technology that we have brought in was designed initially putting these people in our minds. So during the designing phase, these people were really involved, and during the design phase, these people were also part of the team that actually designed the solution. And hence, with the technology that we have brought into this village, it has brought a vast change into these people's lives.
And you also mentioned that when you wanted to design or you brought in the technology, you were also working together with the community to figure out what they need. Where do you draw the line between helping and or being, bringing in too many new things for this community?
So how we draw the line of help, and also because we don't want to help them too much and then it cripples the entire motivation to actually do well or be independent in life. So we try to provide the basic necessity, for example, water and lighting. And these lighting are very simple, basic 2 lights, and also a charging port for mobile. So those are very basic items. And from then onwards, we try to see gauge on how interested or how motivated and how involved is the family in wanting to develop themselves. And from then onwards, we try to see what other help can we do together with the government and other agencies that the government has to actually help them. So for example, let's say if a family now has a solar system and the child is studying, so if the child needs a bit more help in studying or needs some basic stationaries, we try to connect them with partners that actually provide them. If the family wants to do agriculture, then we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, try to matchmake with some of the programs that they have. So I think you have to provide them the essentials and then gauge them from then onwards.
And Saora is also a social enterprise.
Yep.
Share with us the idea of creating a social enterprise.
So social entrepreneurship is a new word being put into businesses. So I feel it's the same as all businesses. There's 2 elements or 3 elements to it. First is the social part, which comes first, which designing a solution which fits to the bottom of the pyramid and trying to elevate them. Second is also on the financing. So problem is you want to also be sustainable in the long run. So social entrepreneurship you can say I help this much of people, but the people that you help would only grow if your organization grows. So it's a two-way thing. So with this two aspects coming hand to hand, then it defines the entire social entrepreneurship. But in terms for Saora, which we are a social enterprise, we would say we are a for-profit social enterprise. Why do I say so? Because for an organization to grow and also to strive, you need to hire really good people, you need to train your talent. There's so many aspects that goes into building a very good company. So being a social enterprise, we don't want to have the epitome syndrome, whereby, oh, I'm a social enterprise, you got to help me because I'm helping the poor. It shouldn't be that way. It should be, I'm helping the poor, and I'm able to also compete on an ASEAN level or on a global scale.
I'm sure you meet with some of the very young people in this community, right? And also some people your age in this community. What did you see in them, and what have you observed so far? And speaking of helping the people, what potentials do they have?
I think, given the right opportunity, anyone's potential can be harnessed. And I think, the orang asli and the orang asal potential is huge, because if you have if the potential has been bottled up for some time, they are very excited to bring it out. And so it's very interesting when we work with some people whereby kids that actually don't go to school, when we went into the village and we said, hey, you at least have to learn basic literature. Basic literature, for example, A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3. So you can read your own letters and this and that. So we have seen interest to actually study. So that's how we say, hey, we'll bring in weekly classes to educate English and Malay. And also, so what happens in this village, so sometimes we work in villages, where the government, hasn't come in yet. So what we do is we convey what the village wants to the government, to the ministry or some agencies, and then we tell the agencies, let's work hand in hand. So it is very beautiful and very harmonious to see such a relationship whereby the villages are open to such help, and the government agencies are ready to go down. So I know a lot of government staff members who are ready to go down anytime, pick up their four-wheel drive and go into the village and spend 1 day or 2 days over there. So it's entirely entire equation whereby the government, the private sector, and most importantly the individual plays a role to making this successful.
So let's look at the TN50. You're one of the ambassadors. How do you see the ambassadors maybe expanding their roles? Instead of just focusing on the communities around them, they can also go further and include the region in their future plans.
So I think admirably TN50 is one of the policies that is bottom up. And for the very first time the government is doing it. And for a 60-year-old country, I think we're a very young nation, we are actually moving very progressive in terms of that. How TN50 is going to help? First of all, let me speak about in context of the nation. The ambassadors are doing a lot. I would say everyone goes on the ground, everyone listens to every opinions youth It's a very apolitical platform whereby you can voice out any comments and any aspirations. And also we see ambassadors now who's going to start doing pilot projects. These pilot projects is very interesting because it consists of what they are passionate about and the subject matter expertise. But on the ASEAN region, I would say the ambassadors, we ambassadors are very passionate in our causes, and I don't see as the ASEAN region now, it's becoming much more borderless and much more connected. And I think it also is admirable for the Malaysian government to now, open up our borders. So we can also do business. For example, you can be an ASEAN member, and anytime you can travel to the Philippines because of our strong diplomatic relations, we can do business there. And then the embassies in the ASEAN region are very helpful. So I've traveled a lot of these countries, and you can shoot an email yesterday and you can get an appointment today. And that shows how committed the government and also the embassies in trying to help Malaysian businesses and also problem solvers be in other parts of ASEAN.
My last question for you would be your top 3 wishes for the country by 2050.
So for the very first one, I would like to see a village, a smart village, whereby these folks are given basic, clean and drinking water supply, which is safe, and also electricity, uninterrupted electricity, and also connectivity. Previously you have the Maslow hierarchy which says water and this and that is the basic needs, but I think connectivity is now becoming a basic need to everyone. And and how do we help this community close the gap between the top guys and also these communities? So that's also important. And by enabling and bringing in technology, I believe we can achieve these 3 aspects. Second, I would say how opportunities can be plugged in towards the youth of the Orang Asli or Orang Asal. I've traveled a lot. I'm very young. I'm just 26 years old, but I've traveled quite a bit to Sabah, Sarawak, and other parts of Malaysia, very rural parts. And I would say that the Orang Asli and the Orang Asal people have the most driven. I've seen them very, very driven and very passionate. And when I say that, they really want to do, and they're very passionate about what they do. And I think what lacks is some of the opportunities. And I think if we could just bridge, because opportunities already exist by the government or private sector or NGOs, opportunities are already out there. But how do we bridge the gap? That's a very tricky way. And also I think you cannot use traditional put up a job in the newspaper and say we are hiring these people. So delivery of message has to also be innovative in that sense. The third one, I would say, how ASEAN, Malaysia plays a role in the ASEAN context. So I foresee in 2050, Malaysia being one of the big decision makers. Like the Prime Minister Yang Berhormat said that he wants Malaysia to be in the top 20 country in the world. And I think that's a very fair request, and I think if hopefully we could achieve it before even 2050. We don't have to wait for 2050, but in 2050 we could perhaps be the top 10 in the world. So that's my top 3 aspirations for Malaysia as a country, and also for Malaysia towards the ASEAN region.
And that's all the time we have for this week's episode of Rizal's ASEAN. Tune in for more insights into the bright minds in Southeast Asia. I am Rizal Zulkapli for Rizal's ASEAN.